cares about those men and women and expresses some level of concern about their well-being. But we don't see that with Donald Trump in any meaningful way. He does it when it's time to, what he wants to do is have a military parade. But the reality is, you know, I've been to Afghanistan, I've been to these hot spots, and our folks need a president and a commander-in-chief who has their best interest as his or her first priority. And we've just frankly not seen Donald Trump.
So given what you just said, and given the briefings that you've just attended, but especially given what you just said about President Trump, do you think the President of the United States is a national security threat?
In many ways, I think that he has not throughout his tenure as president prioritized what is in the best interest of the health and well-being of the American people on the homeland or around the world. And you can just look at this most recent threat to the health and well-being of our country, which is this pandemic. And from the very beginning, Donald Trump referred to it as a hoax. He has spent full time trying to minimize the seriousness of it. He has attempted to muzzle public health experts and to deny the realities of the harm and also what we can do to mitigate the harm, such as wearing a mask and basic things that are necessary to stem the tide of this virus until we get a vaccine. You can talk about it on the issue of the climate crisis and the fact that he has been basically a science denier. And then you can look at the fact that our intelligence community has been very clear, unanimous in its finding of Russia's interference in the election of the President of the United States in 2016. And again, he dismissed the seriousness or the significance or the veracity of that information. So we have many examples that tell us that Donald Trump is not well equipped, if at all equipped, to be the commander-in-chief.
So, Senator, why won't the president take action against Russia? I mean, this latest story isn't the first time Russia has done something that goes counter to either America's interests or the interests of the NATO alliance. So why won't he hold them accountable for some of the egregious things that they've done?
I can't speculate or get into the mind of Donald Trump, and I think that, frankly, I'm too busy looking at what he's doing to worry about how he's thinking. And the fact is that when you look at his actions and his conduct, he has not taken seriously the fact that we have an adversary, a long-standing adversary, who has been responsible for threats to our democracy. And Donald Trump refuses and is clearly incapable of speaking out about the nature of that relationship and the response that our country should have when we are attacked in any form.
Senator, are you surprised leading the Republican effort on their Justice Act, but you, along with Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey, you signed a letter to the Majority Leader saying that the Justice Act was, quote, it is not salvageable. What was wrong with the legislation proposed by Senator Scott? And why wasn't it possible for all of you to get in a room and negotiate a deal, since there is public sentiment behind doing something to reform the law?
So it's important to recall the chronology of this, and which is that Senator Booker and I proposed on the Senate side, along with our colleagues in the Congressional Black Caucus on the House side, and then it was joined by Senate Democrats and House Democrats and Republicans on the House side, a bill. But we came up with a bill called the Justice and Policing Act, which would deal with a number of specific issues that relate to the need for accountability and consequence when law enforcement officers break the rules or break the law. 9 days later, the Republicans submit this bill that essentially dealt with nothing in any substantive way that we dealt with in our bill. In our bill, for example, we banned chokeholds and carotid holds. Were that ban in place, George Floyd would be alive today. We banned no-knock warrants in drug cases. Were that in effect, Breonna Taylor would be alive today. We require that there would be a national standard for use of force, so that when an officer uses excessive force, the question would not be, was that use of force reasonable? Because we know you can reason away anything. The question instead would be, was that use of force necessary? We deal with a number of very specific issues. We say that there should be pattern and practice investigations by the United States Department of Justice, and they should be equipped with subpoena power so that when you have law enforcement agencies that don't want to cooperate, they have the tool to do the investigation. The Republican bill, by contrast, did not ban chokeholds and carotid holes, did not ban no-knock warrants in drug cases, is not speaking to pattern and practice investigations, is not speaking as we have to independent investigations and the need for those, and instead talks about a bunch of studies and bringing people together to have conversations. Look, we've been having these conversations for decades now. This is a time to act, and that's why people by the hundreds of thousands in our country have taken to the streets. People who seemingly have nothing in common, who have been marching together, knowing that we cannot have systems of justice in America, and we need to reform this system in tangible ways, not just giving it lip service, but actually